Don't get me wrong, I love Transformers. As you can see, I am way too into this. And yeah, I'll also do another video about the positives. I'm just starting with the negatives here. So I'm not hating, and I really do enjoy this hobby. But I hate these guys. Except for Igor, he's alright. The little minifigures are so pointless. And I'm not talking about when they're individually packaged in the core class size. That is completely fine with me, and it's a good use of that size class as well. But what I'm referring to is when they package a little guy into a leader class figure. The reason why they're okay in core class is because they're actually given some effort. They have a transformation and they actually pose decently, where in this case they're just static figures for the most part. They do have some posability, but it's horrible. This has happened so many times and I don't like it at all. I would much rather them put more budget into paint, filling in gaps, adding a weapon, or just adding an extra step in the transformation. I would honestly just have anything else over these guys. For example, they could have actually given the Studio Series 86 Grimlock his sword, Blackout some arm guns, and Dark of the Moon Megatron some more paint. The actual figures could have been so much better without these guys. And every time I look at them, it's just a painful reminder of what we could have gotten instead. Before we move on, I'll just like to say thank you guys so much for 3,000 subscribers. I honestly thought we'll never get here. I really appreciate this, and I really appreciate every single one of you. The next thing I want to talk about is paint. Not the lack of paint, because that could work, but what I don't like instead are large, plain, grey areas. No matter how much sculpting you put there, where you can literally have the best sculpting in the entire line, just like with Studio Series AoE Prime here, it will just still look so plain. Just as if there was no sculpting here in the first place. It just blurs everything together, unfortunately. And it really ruins it for me in terms of aesthetics. I know that there's budgetary concerns for all of them, but literally any other color or any other shade would make them so much better. This type of grey is the worst color on a Transformer in my opinion. This is proven with this AoE Prime. This is the worst part of the figure in my opinion. And as you can see with the upcoming Nemesis Prime, it looks like they fixed the grey. The stock images make him look so much better, where even though it is still grey, it's just a much darker shade of grey, and that changes everything. I am pretty sad that I didn't wait for this one. But I'm not against it fully. I do understand that you would obviously need some grey areas, and if they're not the main focus on the figure, like the arms or the legs, then I am completely fine with it, and I honestly don't care. But when it is the majority of the torso, throughout the entire figure, or just the entire figure itself, it pretty much ruins it visually for me. But regardless of visuals, they can still be really fun to play with. And in the end, I guess that's all that matters. So when a figure has poor quality control, it really grinds my gears. Having loose joints or easy breakages ruin a figure even more for me. I was so hyped for Barricade, and I actually expected it to be my favorite figure. That is, until I found out how atrocious he is to handle. And he is one of my most hated figures now. I absolutely loved Hightower. He was so fun to just mess around with and look at, due to how funky he looked. But when one of the legs became absurdly loose, I just stopped messing with him completely. He went from being one of the most playable figures in my entire collection to one that remains untouched on my shelf. I was so excited to play with Sideswipe, and I was ecstatic that I was able to find him after so many years. Until this happened. And don't get me started on Shatter. That is literally impossible to play with. I have no idea how Hasbro let this go into production. I understand that all the figures will eventually wear down, and that is completely normal. But when a figure is unplayable out of the gate, or it just breaks down after a few transformations, it makes me so sad. It's the combination of feeling like you wasted money your expectations being destroyed, and the poor experience that make these types of figures so bad. And speaking about poor play experiences, I think that parts forming is another factor that harms the overall experience. I feel like a transformer should mainly be self-contained, and that parts forming should not exist or be minimized at the least. However, the Studio Series Sideswipe is an example of parts forming where it does not bother me. The blades are integral to the design, and if they had given us the blades separately, it would have messed up the car mode or added unnecessary kibble. But when it's something like this, I start hating on parts forming. When parts forming is lazy and easily preventable, it's really bad. I don't know, it just ruins the entire point of the figure for me. But to be fair, this is really rare, and most instances of parts forming are completely fine. So it's overall not that bad. Mech Tech was amazing. The weapons were so fun, and there were really great fidget toys. Evo Fusion, on the other hand, this is the most nothing burger that I have ever seen. These are just normal accessories and ports, which are fine. I don't expect a full gimmick, and I'm happy with any type of accessory, but that's not the point. What's so funny is that they had the audacity to label it as Evo Fusion. There's no harm in it. It's just fun to point at and laugh, I guess. They could have just not labeled it anything, and it would have had absolutely no difference. I love money, and so when Hasbro announces price increases, my soul hurts. And they just increased it again. Leader classes are already $100 in Australia, so I don't even know how much it would be now. It is honestly so unfortunate, and it makes me so sad. I feel like I'm sort of getting priced out of getting official Transformers, and KOs seem more and more inviting to me. I really want the Studio Series 86 Megatron and that newly announced Leader Class Soundwave, but I don't think I can afford them comfortably unless they go on heavy discount. I do understand why they do it. There's things like tariffs and inflation, but I still feel like it's just too much money for this. Oh well, at least it's not as bad as scalping. If you are not a scalper, please close your eyes. But if any of you watching are scalpers, make sure you keep your eyes peeled and pay attention. Okay, everyone else can open their eyes now. I won't really talk about scalping in detail here because I went in depth in this video. So check out that video after this one if you haven't already. But just in a nutshell, scalping is bad, the secondary market prices of a lot of these guys aren't ideal, and I do feel bad for the newcomers coming into this hobby. However, I have full belief in Hasbro that they are able to fix this with reissues and repaints. And another way to help fix this is by improving distribution, because the track record hasn't been that good. Living in Australia, there have been a lot of figures that I have never seen in stores. This is especially true with figures in the middle of Studio Series, like these guys, where even though I often went to stores to check out the stock as a kid, I always saw the same few figures over and over again. I still have flashbacks to the shelf-warming RCs on clearance.
Leave me alone!
For example, I have never seen the Studio Series Optimus Prime, Sentinel Prime, and Bone Crusher in Australia. I had to get my copy of Optimus when I went to Japan ages ago. Also, out of the Constructicon team, I only ever saw Scavenger, Overhaul, Rampage, and Scrap Metal in stores. Rest in peace to those people who tried getting the full team individually in Australia. And the Wreckers just felt like they never appeared here. I feel like it has been quite difficult for me to get Studio Series figures as a kid. But now, I don't really feel that way, which is good. I do feel like the distribution has gotten a lot better, which is quite commendable on Hasbro's behalf. And there we have 8 things I don't like about Transformers. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. And if you guys have anything else you don't like about Transformers, let me know in the comment section below. And when I make a second part, I'll include your comments as well. And also, just repeating what I said, I will do a positive one as well, so you can also leave recommendations for that video in the comments. Thank you guys so much once again, and thank you for 3,000 subscribers. and I hope you have a good day or night.